editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the 4 o'clock show. Big news here in Providence at 5 o'clock. The City Council will be having a public hearing on the Fane Tower proposal. Now, we did hear from the Providence Preservation Society earlier about their concerns, but we have a big supporter with us. With the Rhode Island Building and Construction Trades, Mike Sabitoni, thank you for coming in today.
Nice to see you again, Kate. Thanks
You've
for
been
having me.
a strong proponent of this throughout the process. Now it goes to the City Council.
That's correct.
To approach the variance requested for the height.
That's correct.
Talk with us about conversations that you've had with council members, and you might not have to name names, but what do you think their receptivity is to the potential to, again, afford this variance change?
I think the majority of the council members are, vetting this process just as they would any other process or project. I think that as we go through this process, and tonight you'll hear testimony from both supporters and and opponents. But I am confident that once all the information is given on the positive impact this project will have overall in the city of Providence, I'm pretty confident that there will be a majority in that council that will support this. And I know that there is a lot of people that are opposed to this for various different reasons, but our support of this is for the positive impact it'll have on the city, on the tax base, on what it'll do for the economy, what it'll do for the construction industry, for the jobs that it'll create, what it'll do for the overall vibrancy of downtown and bring people downtown. So again, it's a process. I welcome the public comment, but I think at the end of the day, once all the pros and cons are laid on the table, I'm pretty confident that the City Council will see that this is an opportunity that they have to consider.
And just as I
positively,
just as I asked Brett Runyon how he responds to folks who are in support of it, what do you say to those opponents? Let's start with the jewelry district, for instance, that they're the ones who were there living and working around it, and just say it's just too big and it's going to just cast too big a shadow. I mean, what's your response to that?
Well, having known firsthand and living this, my office, as you know, is right across the river from the jewelry district. I used to look out my office at 410 South Main Street on the corner of Wicked and South Main Street and look at this beautiful highway abutment of about 50 feet high and a concrete wall that was strewn with graffiti. And then they did me a favor and they relocated the highway. And I have this beautiful view of the river. And now I have interest in that parcel of land right across the street. And I'm begging someone to come and cast a shadow on my building and obstruct my view of that river for economic development. So I live it every day. I've been working in and around South Main Street for the last 20 years or so. So we're in the community. We actually own 2 buildings on South Main Street, the Laborers International. So we're part of the community. I spend more time on South Main Street than I do in my own home. So, and the jewelry district and the surroundings. So I know with any change comes opposition. I commend the people in the jewelry district for a lot of hard work that they've done. And I know there's going to be a big voice for tonight about the City Planning Commission. Well, you know what I have a saying about plans? Plans change, and when they change is when you've got other things of consideration, you reconsider plans. We used the scenario where we relocated the rivers. Well, 80 some odd years ago, 100 years ago, we covered all these rivers up because we thought it was a good plan. Then guess what we did? We uncovered them. So, it's we're going to be in full support of it. I really think it'll just have a dramatic impact on the city. It'll also send a great message to other developers that Providence really is on the rise. We haven't built an iconic structure in this city, for God knows how long.
And let's talk a little bit about that too, because as Brent had taken the position of that, because the variance is needed here, that he said, well, developers won't know, what exactly the playing field is. What's your response when you hear that from Brent?
Well, it's like any other project. I mean, the building trades is not new to this. No matter what we're looking to support and build, and we pretty much support economic development via construction activity. Every project is different. It goes through a process. Not every project just goes straight through and all of a sudden we're on construction. There's always some aspect of zoning, some aspect of changes, some aspect of design. There's no perfect project that just comes right out of the gate and just goes directly to construction. So there is a process. Some are longer than others. Some are more controversial than others, but this is nothing new when we're looking to construct anything. Buildings, planning for street reconfiguration, sidewalks. I mean, no matter what it is, there's a process to go through. And sometimes those processes need to be reconsidered and variances need to be approved to allow projects to go forward. Airports, landfills, wastewater treatment plants, power plants, which we'll be dealing with tomorrow at the Energy Facility Siting Board. So this is nothing new for us.
So let's talk about where we're at, kind of the state of labor in July here in 2018. There's a number of cranes around the city and throughout the state, and we've often talked about sort of where your membership and workers are. I mean, what would you say capacity's at right now? I mean, how many, where are things this year compared to years past?
We are really busy. We're probably, I'd say less than 10% in some locals, like my own local, Labor's local. I'm probably under 5% of unemployment, and but we still, construction is a business where you move on from one thing to the next as you complete projects. So guys come back, they go right back out. We're also talking about increasing our capacities in training. We did double the apprentice classes this year than we did last year. We're going to double that again next year. And probably for the foreseeable. We've got the training infrastructure in place and the investments we've made in our training facilities and our apprenticeship programs. So, we keep one eye on today on what the immediate needs are of our contractors and our clients who are developing these projects, as well as look out, 1 to 3 years and make sure that we continue to bring in people into our industry. So it's a good problem to have. As you know, we were severely impacted by the recession of 2008, and construction was one of the last industries to go into the recession, and we were one of the last ones to come out. So I'd rather have this problem of being extremely busy in recruitment than not enough work for the members that I represent. So we're busy.
And of course, the multi-million-dollar question, we saw the enabling legislation for the POSOGs at the Assembly, but we're in a holding pattern right now. What are you talking with leaders? What are you hearing?
Well, again, I mean, we need the variance from the City Council for the height variance there. I still think that, the number right now is 600 feet. I think as recently one of the articles I read that it'll probably come in a little bit smaller than that, probably around 500 feet, not too much bigger, maybe 75 feet taller than the Superman building right outside the studio here. But it has to go through that process. I know that there is state support. I know there's a lot of business support. I know that there is going to be just overall support, because here's the other thing that happens when you build a project such as this, the impact that it has. You're going to bring people downtown, and people need to dry clean their clothes. They need places to eat. They need to buy coffee. They need to, as well as maybe buy groceries. You could start to see maybe a downtown supermarket and things of that nature. We're sitting in the old jewelry district, and there are pockets of residential buildings around here, but this would be one building with a significant impact of residents living in the city that after 5 o'clock do not go home, and they'll need things to do, and they'll need services to be provided. So not only will it have the impact on the construction, on the tax base, but you'll also have a considerable amount of people in one building that will need services, life services, to go along with their residency.
And you talk about being in the shadow of the Superman building here. GoLocal, in recent history, unveiled the renderings that we'd seen from Hasbro if they were to bring and consolidate their headquarters here in Providence and literally tear down the Superman building and have new construction. Right. What's, in your opinion, the best and highest use of the building? Can retrofitting it perhaps achieve the goals of a new tenant or tenants coming in? Or would you like to see perhaps all new construction here downtown?
Well, as being the representative of the laborers union, I like demolition because that's all my jurisdiction. But I would really like, and I know that we've been talking about it for 4 or 5 years now, to try and find a repurpose for this iconic building. It would be a real shame to tear it down. Plus, I think there is a considerable cost to have to tear this building down. It's built pretty damn well, and it would take a lot of manpower to remove it. So
we totally took a look at that when we did that piece. How would you bring that in between several buildings here? It's not.
I don't know. I mean, you've got that beautiful lobby, and then if you go down into the old vaults and what have you, I mean, there's a substantial amount of material in that building. Doors and bricks and blocks and vaults, and it would be a substantial undertaking. So I would think that I know it's costly to repurpose it, but I would think that it's going to need, once we find what the interest is, an interested party to whether it's one or several, it's going to take some aspect of state and city assistance to make that happen. And it's not uncommon, again, to a lot of the buildings that you've seen repurposed right outside the studio here. They all have some aspect of that to make it happen. So, you know, if you're going to spend 20, 30 million to tear it down, and you can spend 20, 30 million to make the incentive to repurpose it, I say repurpose it.
Okay, well, I know you've got to get to City Hall, but while I still have you here, you said the number before, if the Fane proposal were to move forward. I mean, how many temporary construction jobs are we talking over? How much of a time frame?
No, I very seldom correct you, but I'm going to correct you on temporary jobs, because I do take offense when I'm at areas and people say, well, these are only temporary construction jobs. Well, you do an interview, and then when I leave, you do another one, right? So it's not a temporary.
No, it is temporary.
It's not a temporary interview. So we provide a service. So construction is we build something, and then we don't quit and retire. We go on and build something else. So.
I will say, so I saw folks saying that with recent job numbers and saying these are just.
And again, that's the stigma they give it.
Well,
right?
I'm not trying to do that. But how many jobs are we talking?
We're talking about a substantial amount of jobs. I mean, I haven't really looked into the weeds on the amount, but it would be substantial. This would be a substantial undertaking to build a building of that size, of 46 stories, the infrastructure necessary, the underground that would go in place to substantiate the weight and the stories above it. You're looking at a pretty sophisticated construction project like you see in in Boston and New York and what have you. So they'll be considerable, and they would be multi-year. I'd probably say at least 2.5, 3 years to finish construction, and you'd be looking at hundreds of jobs at any one time, and over the life of the project, I'd say over 1,000.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight at Providence City Hall. Now, again, this is taking place at 5 for public comment. Do we expect a vote this evening?
They mentioned in one of the articles I've read, one of the reporters, that it could be put up for a vote. My guesstimate would be that something of this magnitude, and again, because there is a lot of information to digest, and they want to give the public the due process and the respect to listen to everybody's concerns, I'd probably suggest there will not be a vote tonight.
Well, we're going to continue to keep an eye on it, because this is one of the big issues facing the city of Providence. And I appreciate your taking the time to come back in here, Michael Sabitoni.
And I always appreciate coming to visit.
Thanks so much. I'll let you go to City Hall. Don't go
Thank
anywhere.
you.
I'll be right back here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.
Thank you.
Thank you.